7:30 p.m. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the mayor and council meeting of October 19th, 2015.
I'll move to approve them, but we're going to lump the two meetings together. We have the minutes from the special meeting, and then we have the minutes from the regular meeting.
You can if you want to.
Well, I'll just move that we accept the minutes from the regular meeting and then the special meeting, both held on October the 19th.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, before we get to the town manager's report, we have a special surprise agenda item by the request of our police chief, Mr. Adrian Baker, Chief Baker.
Welcome forward. Is he helping Mr. Mayor, please? Mayor and Council, it is my pleasure to recommend to you that Officer Shelley Aaron is promoted to corporal this evening. While making it official was actually October 10th. And so, Mayor, if you would, you want to hold
we do that?
left hand, or I'll hold it for you.
I was going to say, how much?
Yeah. And I'll give you.
We should be better at this.
Yeah, I got it. So if you put your left hand.
Well, if you got a husband, you could run out and get him with him.
I, Michelle Leone, do swear
I, Michelle Leon, do swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and the laws thereof,
and that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment,
and I will, to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the position of police corporal
execute the position of police corporal
for the Chestertown Police Department,
for the Chestertown Police Department,
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Michelle's been with us for about 3.5 years. She's obviously doing a great job. We look forward to her.
Congratulations.
I think Chief adds new sentences to that oath every time.
I know, because
One is, both of them, one is from the last.
how many corporals do we have compared to?
Compared to
No, just
compared to the last
other
one, we
officers.
have one.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, probably have the most corporals.
They just-
We have 2 corporals, and they are road ship supervisors.
That's what I wanted to,
See, that's the kind of facts that she likes.
yeah. I want to know how seniors are coming in.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That brings us to item 2 on the agenda, the town manager's report. Mr. Bill Ingersoll.
Oh, bills, we need bills on there.
Okay, I had a request from Linda Kuiper to talk to the council a little bit about a study committee that she's on.
Okay, I would like the town of Chestertown to write a letter to the Kent County Public School System, to Dr. Karen Couch, and to the Kent County Commissioners to not consider Henry Highland Garnett Elementary School for closure in this downsizing process. And I would like each one of the council members to sign the letter also. Henry Highland Garnett, I had somebody this weekend describe it as a neighborhood school. It's a Title I school. It has a long history in Chestertown. It has a lot of children who walk to Garnett. And I believe it's an evacuation center also. And I think that it would cost the public school system more money to transport children from Garnett to another school in the county. And I've been to the public meeting, and then I was asked to be on the, it's not a committee, but part of the groups that common areas that were for, well, how I want to put this. We met in 7 group, I think there was 7 or 10 groups, and there were about 10 people in each group. And we were given questions, and one of the common concerns was the distance that children have to travel from school to, from home to school. And some of them are on the school bus an hour in the morning, and this is first graders, kindergarten. And I just think Henry Highland Garnett has a history in Chestertown. It's been here a long time. They've done renovations on it. And not only that, it's in the county seat, which gives children access to the river, to government buildings, to Kids Spot, and other things that we have in Chestertown that aren't in other areas of the county.
Population-wise, how is the Garnett compared to the other schools?
I don't remember the figures exactly, but you can go on the public school website. There's a capacity for each elementary school, and then there's an enrollment for each elementary school. And I think just about all of them are around 100 students less than the capacity. There might be one that's less than 100, so they're seriously thinking about, well, they're seriously considering closing at least one elementary school. The county is going to be about $800,000. The public school system's going to be about $800,000 in the red in 2016. And
have you heard anything specifically that our school, I say
No,
our
they were
school, meaning
total-
Chestertown School, was
this was totally objective. When we met in the separate groups, there was not one school considered. It could be any school.
I can tell you the number of fifth graders in all the schools. Wharton had the highest at 38. Garnett was second at 36 fifth graders. Then it goes Galena at 25, Rock Hall at 21, and Billington at 17. So if you assume there's 36 fifth graders at Garnett and multiply that by 5 grades, you get about 180. So I think Garnett and Wharton probably have the 2 highest enrollments of the
They're
5
probably the
schools.
same.
So it probably wouldn't make a ton of sense.
yeah, it makes more sense to close one with smaller enrollment. I mean,
Well, not necessarily, because it might be a newer school.
There's a lot of liability on the building. the
transportation of
iteration.
kids is very expensive, though.
I had somebody tell me, and I can't verify this, but I had somebody tell me in the last week, there are a lot more of walkers to Garnett this year, and I don't know whether that's just, it looks like a lot more, or there actually are or not, so.
As you
What were
were,
our thoughts on the letter?
well, as Linda was going through her first points, I thought, well, you could say that about any school, it's a
Yeah.
community, it's gonna cost money to transport kids, but then at the very end, you did start talking about the facilities in Chestertown that students at Garnett have access to. And if we do send a letter, then I think we need to emphasize those points that can't be said about every, if you were on the Millington Town Council or the Rock Hall Town Council, you might make the same
We also
remarks.
have the Judy Center at Garnett and Head Start.
Yeah, and I don't know for a fact whether those exist in any other elementary schools.
Plus, we have the college.
I think we should stand up for our school.
Who's doing a great job of helping out our elementary
But
school
will it just prompt
children.
every other town council in the county to send a similar letter?
We might not get those college students traveling to Rock Hall or to Millington.
That's right. They have college students at Garnett, and I'm a volunteer.
A number of people at
we
Heron
have-
Point are too.
Really? Okay, so then we
I think,
have,
for me, I'd be in favor of sending a letter. I do kind of agree with Liz that probably every town with a school will do the same, but.
Well, so we need to
I don't
emphasize the
know.
special things.
I totally agree with that
Yeah.
point as well.
I think every town's going to fight for their, but we've got some salient points that should put us ahead of them.
Okay, so What do you guys, should we vote on this?
Can we
or-
see a draft maybe, or contribute to a draft? That we can make some special points about.
And then drop by and sign it.
We'll just send
Oh,
it to
we can
the
do that.
council and
How urgent is it?
So would you draft that,
I think we
Bill?
should get it out this
Yep.
week.
All right, so Bill's gonna draft it, he'll send it to us for comment,
Oh, that'd be
and we
great.
can come by and sign it.
All right, big election day tomorrow on 2nd and 4th wards takes place starting at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's just probably too late.
To 8 p.m.
8 p.m., what'd I say, 7? 8 p.m., Jen's got everything ironed out and ready to go, right, Jen?
I sure do.
She has to get there pretty early in the morning to open up. It's at the fire hall, correct?
Fire hall.
I'm glad you. A couple of normal annual requests that we get. We have Santa's arrival on November 27th, and a permit for a Christmas parade on November 28th at 10 a.m. This is something we do every year, and it's sponsored by the Downtown Chestertown Association. Santa's arrival, and I guess the parade is too.
Yeah, they both
It's
are.
really nice that they ask us, and we do everything we can to support them.
Sure.
The Lower Street, we started talking about the Lower Cannon Street closure for the submarine boring last year at this time. I didn't think that Delmarva was ready. We thought we would do it in the dead of winter in February, but absolutely nothing would happen. They're going to have to close a portion of the, I won't call it the 100 block of Cannon Street, because there is a 100 block, but it's the
Zero
portion
block.
below that, it's a 0 block. In front of the, where the College Gardens are on Lower Cannon Street. It's like half a block, and it's by the town pumping station. But the submarine cable and I guess the mud for what's being drawn through for the casing will be taken out on our side. They'll be pushing the pipe from the other side. It's starting on next Monday night. They waited for downrigging to be done. They want that part of that street to be closed. I have a little diagram.
Both sides, both lanes is,
The whole.
The whole street.
So people will have to sort of take a look at that.
how are they gonna have signs to direct people to come the other way to the fish whistle, or?
I hope that's not what the fish whistle's here about.
Is there a pipe underneath there now, Bill?
There's a submarine cable, 50 years old, that comes across and goes right up the pole by the walkway that goes across the little cove there. They can't guarantee how long that'll last. It could last 25 more years. But this is a duplicate cable. It'd also be at about 25 feet depth below the bottom of the river, so that it's not snagged by boat anchors. The other one's been caught by a lot of people. We've had to locate it when we drive pilings down on the Cannon Street pier.
Do they put that cable inside of a
Conduit.
tube of some type or
They put the
something?
conduit through, and then they pull the cable through. They do all this from that long, narrow park in Kingstown, where they set up, and we're sort of the receiving end, and they'll be putting the dirt in dumpsters. Yeah, there's almost a straight line. I don't know. Can you guys zero in on that? It's hard to see. You can see the Washington College Gardens down there. So they would detour around on Water Street and through the marina.
Well, if we don't have any festivals going on or anything, we can invite the people down and watch the boring for...
The boring.
Yeah.
Who says Chestertown is boring? Okay, so that's going to go on. They may move a little bit of equipment in this week, and they should be done in about a month.
Who is it, whose responsibility is it to
Delmarva
sign
Power.
the detour, you know?
Well, I'll ask that they block it. They have to notify 911 and all the others.
No, but I mean, I'm concerned about the business down there, and, you know, is there gonna be a sign that's provided, or is Jeff gonna have to do it?
No. Jeff, you're not here about that, are you?
I came to listen.
Okay.
I'm not gonna, I'll chime in later.
No, that's all right. No, obviously, that it's up to them to detour people around. And like I say, last winter, I thought that would be a more perfect time.
Yeah.
But they weren't ready. Now they are.
How long
It's
is
a
it
lot.
gonna take them?
It's going to take a month.
A month? Oh,
I can't say that it's going to be any less than that, but the Rodney Spring and Associates are going to be doing it, and I think time is money for them.
Okay.
So, Jeff, did you want to hear some more? We're going to leave the parking lot open. It goes down to the beginning of the marina parking lot. It's closed off, and it's closed off to almost to the beginning of Bill Krieger's house.
Sure.
Yeah, so that going around on Water Street and in the marina that way, and I think that's a really good point. They should mark all the detour. We shouldn't have to.
Shouldn't be anybody else.
I think, so I'll make it clear the council wants it.
The walkway from High Street to the Fish Whistle will be open, there'll be no problem with that.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, is the,
Wait a minute, some equipment may be, okay, never mind. They're going to bring some equipment in on Thursday and Friday, November 5th and 6th, but the street will not be totally blocked. But I believe after that, it'll be closed from November 9th to December 11th.
and that will be closed to pedestrian traffic also?
Well, I don't, yeah, I think so.
Sure, I mean, for safety reasons, I can imagine.
I can't,
So
the way
we'll-
this thing, and anyone's welcome to have this.
Is the boardwalk be closed off? Oh, yes, because they're going right under the bridge.
It won't people won't know it's going underneath.
Okay, so you could park at the foot of High Street and walk.
That's another good point.
That
Yeah,
way.
someone could get to the restaurant that way.
Okay. That's what you were asking, I think, Jeff, right?
Well, I just wanted to make sure, like, obviously it was gonna be closed, because of safety reasons, closed to pedestrian traffic. My only concern would be, since you're gonna have that little area that's still gonna be open for parking or what have you there, before, you know, basically from the entrance to the marina to the top of Cannon Street and
Yep.
water.
Yep.
The biggest concern is cars that park along Front Street, between, you know, basically from William Krieger's home down to all along Front Street there. When you have cars parked on the street, it makes it hard to enter and exit. The one thing I would ask, if possible, if you could ask the residents, or ask basically no parking on either side of the street to allow traffic to flow
Yeah, it is.
both ways.
Yeah, when people park on the right side going in, you can't get through.
Because
somebody
it's,
comes
I
in.
mean, it's still hunting season, it's your hunting season coming up. You're gonna
Yeah.
have people dropping boats over for duck hunting. You're still gonna have boats, you're still gonna have rock fishing season's gonna be in.
And it would be nice if they could open it back up at night to some extent. I have to find out
But I
that.
think I mean, I could be wrong, but I think when they have all their equipment there, it's really not gonna be able
I
to
think
move
they're
that stuff on a
actually
daily
sideways
basis.
to the road, like,
Sure.
so.
They're dumping here.
It says dumpster here and a tool trailer here. Looks
Yeah.
like it's gonna block the whole
But
thing.
that would
Well-
be, that's my only concern, is having a flow of traffic both ways.
I agree that, anything else that you can think of? And please feel free to call while this is going on, because
Oh,
this is
sure.
not some sort of sacrosanct thing. Like I said, February would be better. There's times in the middle of winter when you actually shut down to clean up, don't you?
We used to, we do it
Yeah.
basically.
Hey, Bill, can you scoot that over here?
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. Okay, Nick, we're all done with that? I think I'm done.
All right. Moving right along, mayor's report. We actually did appoint Suzanne DeBerry Cole to the HTC last.
I thought we did.
Oh, I thought we nominated her.
We did, and everyone had already seen her resume. and-
Well, that's fine. She's coming on Wednesday anyway, so
All
that's
right,
good.
cool. She's in. Reappoint Bill Arrowood to the Recreation Commission for a 4-year term.
So moved.
Yeah, I did too.
He resigned as the chairman, but he would like to stay on as a member.
Yeah.
And that's okay with the chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
So do we need a motion there?
I moved to appoint him.
Second.
And we had already done Susan
Yes.
Cole, yeah.
So there's a motion for Bill Arrowood. Is there, and you
I seconded it, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that brings me to the third item, the meeting with MDE Secretary Ben Grumbles. The reason I'm dressed like this is because I basically spent really my whole day basically driving to Baltimore and MDE's headquarters with both Bill Ingersoll and Bob Sipes. We met with the Secretary of MDE, Ben Grumbles, for about an hour. He also had, I would say, probably 7 lieutenants, including a couple of lawyers, Chris Ralston and Horatio Tablata, who had been in town and met with us, both here at Town Hall and at a public meeting that they came and held with us. And it was really a meeting that I had requested a couple of times, but in writing, and really the purpose of the meeting was for us to express directly to the Secretary our continued concerns over the procedures that are being implemented at the hospital, but even more than what's going on right now is what would happen in the event that these contaminants escaped from the zone of hydraulic control, and ultimately if this somehow gets to a closeout and the hospital basically is given a closeout, what happens from that point on? How do we get assurances that, I think even MDE would say that there would still be some oil in the ground no matter what we do. How do we know for sure that that isn't going to move eventually? We kind of went over the history of the spill. For those of you who don't know, the spill was first discovered in 1987, so this has been going on for almost 30 years. Unfortunately, the town wasn't notified of the spill for 4 years. We didn't find out that this was even going on until 1991. We kind of threw that out there to sort of express why we're a little bit distrustful of really both MDE and the hospital at this point. When we were notified, we were immediately told that we needed to shut down well number 8, which is one of our most productive wells, which was never brought back online, for which we never received any compensation. And we also talked briefly about how the pump and treat system was completely shut off for almost a year in 2011, and that we were never notified of that. So that kind of set the backdrop. And I will say the Secretary Grumbles, I thought, was very receptive to our concerns. He was very empathetic about, our position and why we were, sort of hesitant to really believe almost anything that anybody says, and that we wanted to safeguard our population. I will say nothing really came out of it on paper from this meeting, but he did say that they would consider and continue to discuss the possibility of creating a consent agreement. Really, if we were to get a consent agreement that would be signed by the town, the hospital, and MDE, what we would want, first of all, is this really would be in the event of, first of all, we talked about what would happen in the event of a closeout. How do we know that that stuff isn't going to move? And we talked about wanting to hold the hospital's feet to the fire if that gets closed out, to continue testing. We'd said for 10 years. They were talking about 1 to 2 years. Then they said, well, there's a site where we required them to test for another 8 years. And I said, well, to me, it should be longer than that, because it's such a unique spill in that it was a tremendously large spill, and it's so close to our drinking water supply. And to me, that makes this different from a spill in the middle of a flat area where there's a farm field and you're miles from any water supply. So he was empathetic to that. And then I said, the other thing we really want is financial assurances that if the hospital, if we find contaminants in our well and we have to go to a doomsday scenario where we need new wells, we want to know that there's money that's going to be on the table for us. We want to know where it's coming from and how we can get it. So we kind of left it that they would continue to have internal discussions, and we basically asked them to broker this agreement between the 3 parties, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if you want to add anything to what I've said.
I think that bringing the history, we went back, went through the files which we kept from 1988 on, and some of the meetings sounded similar to the meeting today. So, that sort of points out that why we're having another meeting, because they admitted it was their responsibility to protect the town's well fields in 1991, in a letter to us, and it's same is true today. It doesn't matter how much they spent or how much has been removed from the ground. There's one thing we know, and we may argue over how many gallons are still in the ground. We know there's gallons in the ground, and that events underground could move them, whether it's water table or seismic events or whatever. And
Did they indicate the same thing, that they understand they're responsible for the
Yes,
spill and
absolutely.
our contamination if we get it in our wells? The hospital was reasonable
Well,
in this
no, the
meeting?
hospital wasn't at this meeting.
Oh, they weren't at
No,
that?
this was us and MDE.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's what I was interested in, what the hospital had to say, but if they weren't.
yeah, so I get the sense that if a consent agreement is gonna happen, there's gonna have to be another meeting where we sit down with all three parties and, basically try to get everyone to agree on some terms that we're all comfortable with. And I think the terms that would be debated would be how, assuming this, and they kept emphasizing, we're really early in this stage of the remediation. I was like, I understand that, but I would rather be hysterical now than after we find out that our wells can't, serve the town. I'm being preemptively, prudent right now, and I think the things that would really need to be negotiated would be how long after a potential closeout would testing have to go on? And it should all be paid for by the hospital, in our view, even though they seem to indicate that wouldn't necessarily be a legal requirement of the hospital if MDE gave them their blessing to close out the site, which to me is kind of incredible, but that's something that we would need to fight for. And then I think the other thing is, where's the money going to come from if, it all goes awry?
Did you feel or get any assurance of better communication in the future?
Of course.
Well,
They say
I
that
was
every time.
I was a little upset by the testing, the weekly report that you forwarded to us. And when you go through that down there in the weeds, it says that on Monday, they're moving to a new zone. I don't know where that zone is. I assume it's a little further
Yes, it
down
is.
slope. And that the state had approved that last Thursday and Friday by email. And that was the first we heard of it by happening to get that copy of that report. I don't know if anybody else
that was one of
picked
the
up on
first
that.
things that I brought up, is that, hey, we were going to stop. We thought we were going to get, talk over the results of Priority Zone 1, and boom, we're in Priority Zone 2. And that's sort of what Chris is saying about, hey, we need to talk about this.
You need to be in the picture.
And we don't, as I think the three of us all agreed, that the results that we were expecting from Priority Zone 1 weren't the ones that they found. They found very little product. And they sort of said, oh, they expected that today because this is where the original spill was. And I guess the theory is that it's moved down, but that didn't really satisfy me.
It doesn't make me feel a lot better.
The whole purpose of a surfactant is to remove. Otherwise, it's like dusting a table that doesn't need to be dusted. So,
And along those lines, we did reiterate the concerns that we've been saying all along, which is what they're doing now is basically cleaning up the areas around the wells that aren't necessarily overlapping with one another. So after all three of these priority zones are tested, are they planning on boring in between those areas and testing the areas that didn't get any Ivy-Sol injected into them? And they were amenable to that, and I think even Chris Ralston and HT were basically on board with that concept. And we also said, the amount in the ground is unknown, and that's really scary to us because what we've read through EPA's literature is that these pump and treat systems generally get about half of the product. So if they've recovered 85,000, there could be as much as 85,000 gallons left. So we're concerned. We reiterated, I can't tell you how many times, probably 10 times, that we are concerned that they're going to get inaccurately rosy results when they go back to test at the wells, which could lead to a premature closeout, which could leave us in a lurch. In a nutshell, we just kind of kept coming back to that over and over again.
So they're moving down slope, and I think the slope is you know, it's a slightly steeper. I mean, they were basically up on the flat area by the hospital for this first round.
I don't know. What's really frustrating about the whole thing is, you know, and I think the town people should know this, is that we're not making the decisions about when the hospital gets to go down gradient. That's all being made by MDE. And all we can do is continue to keep insisting that we have a seat at the table and get our points across as clearly as we can.
Yeah.
So that's a summary of how things went. Yeah.
Chris, as I mentioned to you earlier, 2 weeks ago, in fact, the evening after I heard that you had a meeting with him, with Grumbles, I went home and I found a voicemail message from Ben Grumbles asking me to call. I had been trying to contact him for some time on a different topic, totally separate topic, on nutrient trading. And we talked for about 45 minutes, primarily on that. And I don't know if anybody's followed, but he's come out with a totally new policy on that. And then the last 10 minutes, I talked about the hospital oil spill. And it was clear from the tone of that conversation that his staff had not begun to brief him on it, certainly had not told him about their complicity in this. I think you were very wise to push to meet with him. It's just human nature that Chris Ralston and HT will kind of defend what they have been doing.
Yeah.
And at least Grumbles is a new person on board.
Right.
I would certainly encourage you to continue pushing for that seat at the table.
Yeah. Oh.
I thought I heard at the meeting upstairs here when it was raised about being a full partner to that. And some acknowledgement, yeah, we've done that in other cases. That's possible, that's thinkable. I hope that you can continue to push this bit about Liz hearing after the fact that they've decided to move down to another site. That's not a partnership. That's not in there. And I really think that the more that Grumbles can be involved with this, the more likely he's to push for it. He was really embarrassed. He referred to this over the phone as a debacle.
Yeah. It is a debacle.
And I think you need to play on that.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the agenda, and if people out there have any other questions, you know, you can raise them on item 6 on the agenda. So I'm gonna move on to ward reports. Why don't we start at your end of the table tonight, Marty?
Okay. I attended the COG meeting, which is the Council of Governments, meeting of 5 municipalities in the Kent County representing Chestertown. We had a fairly good turnout. I explained to them that most of our council members would very much like to be there. It's just that they have this day job thing that interferes with noontime meetings or in the middle of the week. I'm not encumbered with that, so. We had 2 speakers, so the meeting lasted a couple hours. One of them was the Kent County Commissioner of Aging is doing a survey. They came to the conclusion that we're getting older in this county, which all of us seem to know. But the surveys can be picked up at each of the county town municipalities and, of course, at the health department. And it's, for anybody that's over 60 years old, I told them as soon as I turned 60, I certainly would fill that out and mail it in. But it's interesting. They want to find out how our people are living and what they need to continue to live in Kent County and hopefully independently. The commission itself is made up with about 15 people from all walks of Kent County. So Pat Clark, if many of you may know her, is the chairman, and she has made a very nice presentation. And I think if people participate in this, there'll be some worthwhile information come out of it. The second presentation was by the health department. Apparently, Maryland is failing in their effort to prevent youth from receiving tobacco products. The last 5 to 6 years. I want to make note that I was the tax, alcohol and tax tobacco inspector, and I've been retired for 8 years, so we were doing all right up until then, but the consequences of such a thing is that they take money away from us, which seems backwards to me. If we want to fight the product, we're going to need money, but they take it away from everything, from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. So they're concerned that they won't be able to do their programs in prevention in drugs and alcohol and so forth because they're failing to tobacco. So there will be an increased enforcement in that effort. Kent County itself is doing fairly well. I want to talk a little bit about 7 and 77. I'm talking about Channel 7 and Channel 77. James has been working on it very hard. We didn't have any sound for a long time. Now we have sound, but we don't have any picture. So we're going to try and get the two things together, and he's got a meeting tomorrow, and he's coming in and doing some work on it, so we'll hopefully get that back. I don't know if anybody else, maybe it's the people in my ward, but I hear quite often about that they can't seem to
I watched it the
see
other day.
these meetings.
It was all right the other.
It's a black screen at my house right
Oh,
now.
really?
Pardon?
I watched some of it, one of our last meetings, for a few minutes the other day.
Yeah, and you got both sound and pic. Well, yeah, but when it goes off,
It's between the meetings.
you know,
used
you
to
get
have
the music,
pictures.
but you don't get any pictures there now.
Okay,
Before,
I got you.
we used to, you
It was
got the
just the
pictures
filler.
and the music, but you didn't get the meetings.
Oh, okay.
I think we're going to try and get it all together and get it back to where it belongs.
Good commercials.
Finally, tomorrow is Election Day. I do want to thank the people who have supported me and encouraged me to run this time, and they're going to see this well after the election, so they've already made their decision. But I appreciate everything that was done for me by the people in my ward. And the absolute last thing I'm going to say is, you notice I'm wearing my purple tie again, and that's because the Ravens won Sunday. I thought for a while I was never going to get to wear it again, but in fact, if they go on a winning streak, I might break down and buy one more purple tie so that it won't be redundant when I come in here. But they're on bye this week, so we don't have to worry about that.
All right, Linda.
Okay, the State Highway Administration Task Force meetings are moving along, so,
Are they going to get us a report this evening?
yes.
Okay.
We don't want to rush too much, you know. But anyway, yes, you'll be getting a report.
All right.
And we had a jam-packed weekend in Chestertown. We really did. Thanks to the Sultan. It was really,
Yeah, I thought
really
you would
nice.
mention that a little bit, Mayor.
Yeah, I try not to mix those two worlds.
Well, it was super, and I appreciate the nice weather you had.
Thank you, we ordered that this year.
And the Halloween parade was a lot of fun. There was a lot of original costumes. So, the next big event downtown is going to be Winterfest, which will be right around the corner, which is the first, well, it'll start on the Friday after Thanksgiving, Christmas parade, and then Winterfest is going to be on December 5th, the weekend of December 5th, so that'll be our next big one. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but possibly if the farmers get together, having the farmers market on Wednesday again. I don't know whether they'll, and it'll probably be Wednesday
On the
afternoon.
Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
Well, they're always there. They're always there the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and the Wednesday before Christmas. And it's nothing cast in stone yet, but they're thinking about it, maybe in the afternoon on Wednesdays again. That's it. Just the farmers.
All right, Liz.
I want to reiterate, I thought the downrigging weekend this year was the best ever, and I'd love to know, I wish Sam were here, but maybe his marketing committee and Kay could figure out if there's any methodology we could use to kind of
Yeah.
quantify these things a little bit more and gather some data on the impacts for town. I know that both Jeff and I'm on a newsletter from the kitchen, Steve Quigg, say they had the best weekends ever. And it'd be interesting to sort of survey some merchants and find out what they think.
And that kind of data speaks to how that marina
Absolutely.
is so important.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I know that's just one weekend in the year, but like you multiply, it's a big deal.
And I know you had some issues with the ships getting in and out because of the low water,
We had
and all I can say
issues
is
of low water and we had issues of high water. which we
yeah.
do every
dredging can't come soon enough, I guess. All right, Bill, would it be possible, I saw the leaf truck, the street sweeper, but I guess it doubles as a leaf vacuum apparatus, right? I saw them obviously preparing for down rigging, going around the historic district. If we could get it on some of the other streets in town, that'd be great. And finally, just as a little afterthought, since I have the podium, I'd like to encourage everyone to get their flu shots if you haven't done it yet, just to try and keep us all as healthy as possible this winter.
Okay.
I want to say one more thing. Jeff, thank you for all the food
Yes.
that you prepared for the 2 days.
Thank you.
I'm surprised you're here tonight.
Was there any to be had on Sunday afternoon? I know there
It
were.
was a great day.
There are a lot of oysters.
Oh my gosh, those oysters were good.
All right, there were no requests to be on the agenda from the public. Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Yeah.
Just to make sure I heard right, you said that during the meeting with Grumps, you did hear him say that they were responsible to protect the water supply.
Oh, absolutely.
He said that.
Did he explicitly say that?
I said, well, I was talking about it earlier that it was in a letter from 1991.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Was there a reiteration of that at all in the meeting from Grumbles?
I mean, I
An
don't,
acknowledgement of
He
it?
made some opening remarks and then staff talked, but he would fill in and say that, he brought up three things that he felt they should do. Communication, you remember what the three things?
I mean, I think they've been pretty forthcoming from the beginning that ultimately MDE is responsible for protecting the drinking water supply of Chestertown.
Well,
So
they're in the code of Maryland.
I don't want to like misquote something that he said, but he definitely made it clear that they were responsible for helping us protect the water supply.
If you're interested, I put that packet together from 1988 to 1991. Do you have it already? These are things that I actually didn't recall from the early days, and that's true for any of you guys, anybody. It's just things that I picked out that showed what we were being told then, and the immense amount of oil that was coming out of the ground on an annual basis. And apparently they went on final alert after several years of testing and failing pressure tests. The state finally made them put it in a well or two, and they found a foot of oil in the first well that they put down. And so all the stalling and putting off of repairing tanks, suddenly, and maybe that delaying caused it to be 50, 60,000, 80, 90, 100, whatever it was, whatever is lurking under there. But I thought that Secretary Grumbles did a very good job of seeming to understand what we were saying from our side.
Yeah, I think to kind of reiterate what David was talking about, when we went over the timeline and kind of gave our perspective on it, I think he said several times, this has been very helpful for me to understand, why you're a little bit leery of what both organizations are telling you. And so I think it was very productive, if only that the top person in that, in that organization now has a very clear picture of where we stand and what we want and need out of this. Okay, so are there other questions or comments?
Just to put in context, the discussion I had with Grumbles, the focus of my conversation with him was the importance of trust, building trust with the environmental stakeholders. He's come out with a new policy, and I applauded that policy, but in my own experience, that you've got to win the trust of these. It was in that context that we then talked about the oil spill. One other note on, we've all heard Bob Sipes talk about the 50% rule on this. If you go in and read the fine print of that, it said no more than 50% would be removed using those techniques. Things that might make it less, maybe 30 or 40%, would be if it was a heavy oil, which it was. If it was a clay soil, which we have. So odds are they didn't get close to the 50%, which means, hey, even more than the 85,000 gallons.
Jeff?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the town for allowing, me to have the tent to provide my services, the Sultana party, the other things.
Yeah, that's great.
But also a big thank you to the town police because they constantly, at nighttime, and obviously there were valuables inside the tent, they patrolled through. But also a huge thank you to JR at the marina. I mean,
Yes.
I don't think people realize that, obviously that we all see what the guy has to work with there. And he busted his hump and he goes above and beyond what most people would do in a situation like that.
So he's talking about J.R. Nicholson. We have two JRs that work for us.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you very much, he did.
Thank you.
Yeah, he moved 3 sailboats that were in the way of your tent on the last day. And I thought it was a great party, and I thought you added a lot to it by having your tent there. It just looked festive.
Yeah, I think it worked out great for everyone.
And then we had the Keels and Wheels in the place where you used to have the
Right.
big tent, the big
Right.
party tent. That was very cool too.
That
I
was
want
cool.
that red.
The red one, I know, I want that too.
Boat with polka dot curtains.
Oh, I was like, you're talking about the red, like
Oh, I want one of those
Thunderbird.
cars.
Red speedboat.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, the last order of business is the payment of the bills.
So moved, the
Well,
bills be
Are we
paid.
paying the corrected one?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Have you get that in? So everybody has
I need a second, I need a second.
Yeah, I second. Is the large payment to Chesapeake Telephone Systems, is that the new systems for the SOS building?
Well, Chief.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just sort of surprised it wasn't up there.
All right, look, there's been a motion, there's a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Please
Aye.
adjourn.
This has gotta be close to